Oh, and down he goes! Right hand, left hand! And I don't think he's going to get up! I think it's all over! I think it's over! Is he going to get up? Can he get up? Can he get up? He does! Oh my goodness! Somehow Fury has managed to get up!
Hello folks, and welcome back to the Brawl Boxing podcast, brought to you by the Brawl Network and powered by 92 Degrees. I'm host Kieran McCourt, and I'm joined by co-hosts Colin McGuigan and Ram McLaughlin. As always, guys, we're sponsored by 92 Degrees. They're a coffee shop based in Liverpool, and they're actually expanding in the other cities such as Manchester and Leeds and stuff. So if you're in any of them cities, the coffee is absolutely amazing. And thanks again, lads, because we wouldn't be able to do any of this without you. So thanks very much for the support.
Thanks for that, McCourt. Well, guys, we've got another great new sponsor on board, and we'd love you all to go have a look at their website now that we're in partnership with them. So CBD Uplift is the home of the highest quality CBD available in the UK. Head over to cbduplift.co.uk and begin to uplift yourself today using code BRAWL15 at checkout, and you'll get 15% off and free shipping. So guys, we announced a few months ago that we'd be starting the Coach's Corner segment of the podcast, where every month or so we'd be getting a new coach on to tell their story and what it's like from the other side of the ropes. So joining us today is one of the best coaches in British boxing, Dave Coldwell. Dave, how you doing, mate?
I'm very good, thanks. How was you lot?
All good, Dave, all good. We weren't going to introduce you as one of the best boxing trainers in the sport because I think it'd be doing an injustice to you, because I've seen them cones out your back garden with Theo, and I've seen the right and the left boot. There's a future Man United striker in there, isn't there?
Yeah, he hopes so, definitely.
How much do you enjoy doing that compared to the boxing? Is it sort of like similar for you, two passions really?
Yeah, it is. It is, to be honest. I mean, I coach his, for those that don't know, I coach his Sunday League team, so his grassroots team, and I've done this fourth season now. And it's the biggest buzz ever. I mean, I can, when they've got a game on the Sunday and I've got a fight on the Saturday, if I'm in London and I've got a nice hotel room waiting for me, I don't use it. I'm back on the motorway and I'm getting home at 4 o'clock and sometimes later, so I can be out on the pitch, at 9 o'clock, 9:30 the next morning. It's something I really look forward to it. It's the time that I get to switch off from boxing. But I see the passion that my son's got for it and his teammates as well. And, they're like little men, and I get to train them like I would do my fighters, apart from, I'm not teaching them how to fight. But yeah, it's brilliant, mate. It's brilliant. I've been fortunate. About 18 months ago, took them over to Barcelona. They played on the new camp. My little boys actually scored on the new camp pitch in the semi-final. So it's great. It's a great experience. I love it.
I'm sure I seen you on your Instagram story that it was, I think, might have been after Bellew and Hay, and like obviously that was such a career high. Like it was unbelievable. And you were up at Sheffield or Rotherham the next morning.
Yeah.
And
that's
moved on straight away and straight onto the football.
That's it, because at the end of the day, these kids, they don't care what I do. They don't, they don't get me wrong. They find it a bit weird because they see me on telly. I mean, you're talking about young kids, but they're not interested in that. They want their coach at side of the pitch. You know what I mean? And taking the training sessions, and that's what they're for. And so that's my commitment. And even when I remember we had a show in Belfast on the Saturday, and I got the early flight, like something like stupid, like 6 o'clock to Liverpool. Flew back from, hammered the car back from Liverpool to be on pitch side. And I remember my little boy was just kicking off, literally centre spot, waiting for the kick off, about to kick off, and he sees me running on the pitch and he's giving me a big thumbs up, a big smile on his face. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it means a lot to my boy, but also the other kids that I coach. So I try and be there as much as I can. Whenever I can, and I always will do.
That's serious dedication after the Belfast card. I'm sure everyone was out on the light straight after, and Dave's back first thing in the morning. So Dave, tell us, how did you first get into boxing then, as a kid growing up?
So I always wanted to box because Mike Tyson and Sugar Ray Leonard. That was the reason. Mike Tyson, he was on ITV. I used to get up in the middle of night because I must have I can't remember how I first got to know about Mike Tyson, but just used to see this guy highlight reels knocking these people out, and then I started getting up in the middle of the night, sneaking downstairs and watching the fights on ITV Sport. And so Mike Tyson was the one. Sugar Ray Leonard was the one where I remember I came in from football training one night, and I sat at the side of the fire, put the telly on, and it was delayed, obviously, back then. And there was I just looked up and I saw this guy with his back to the rope, just flailing away with a 100-mile-an-hour combination and then skipping off. And as it turned out, it was Ray Leonard against Marvin Hagler, and that was round 9. I recognised it with that flurry, that combination when he's in trouble. Well, he was backed up and he was tiring, and he just reels them all off. And those two were the ones that really, really got me interested in boxing. My mum would never let me. And then I got to 15, and I used to get bullied at school, and I had a pretty bad childhood. And so I got to the point where I'd had enough of getting bullied, had enough of being ridiculed, being, the punch bag, so to speak, and being terrified, basically, being terrified of everybody. So I remember Nigel Benn against Chris Eubank. I watched that. That was on a Sunday. It wasn't a Saturday. It was on a Sunday. I'm sure it was. And then literally the next day, I went on a hunt looking for Brendan Ingle's gym. Johnny Nelson I bumped into in one of these activity things that they used to do in the parks in the summer holidays. And I remember he once said, he was just this, tall, skinny boxer back then. He wasn't a big name, world champion or anything. He was, coming through himself. And he said at the time, he said, "Do you want to get down to Brendan Ingle's gym?" Blah, blah, blah. So I was looking for Brendan Ingle's, but I thought it was in Shire Green. So I spent the full day looking for this gym, walking around a place called Shire Green, looking for this place. And I'm asking, all I knew it was an old chapel or a church. So I'm literally asking people around Shire Green, and they're like, "No, it's not here. It's not here." And then somebody said, "You're in the wrong place. It's in Winkerbank," which is kind of like the next village on, sort of thing. And so I went and found it, and the rest is history, so to speak.
How was that in Ingle's gym? Because we spoke to Johnny Nelson, and he said it was just like surreal. He said literally every corner of that gym there was a different ethnicity of person, different type of person. Like, what was it like for you there? And did that kind of shape your amateur career then?
It was. So I'm a kid that's terrified of everything. I've walked into it. It took me a lot of courage to walk through the doors. So I've walked through the doors, and as I've walked in, this gym's buzzing. It's packed and it's buzzing. And I've looked across to my right, and I've never seen people train. I don't know what faces they pull. And there's this big black guy, got this barbell on his back, and he's doing a squat. Obviously, I know it's a squat now, but I didn't know what it was doing. And he's just got this weight, and he's but as he's standing up, he's growling, but he looks at me. So I completely shit myself, thinking he's fucking snarling at me. So I thought, I can't do this. I've turned back out and I've gone. I've walked out of the gym, and I've proper shot it. And I remember I started walking down the hill, and I thought, I can't do this. And I had a little battle in my head, thinking, no, you've got to do this. You've got to go back in. And so I stood back outside the gym. And I remember it felt like 10, 15 minutes standing outside that gym, trying to pluck up the courage. And then eventually I walked through the door. And the first person I actually spoke to was, turned out to be a woman called Tina, who happened to be Ryan Rose's mum. And she collected the subs and things like that. And years past 4 years on, then I ended up being Ryan Rose's coach and manager. But yeah, it was such a, like you said, there was different races, religions, ages. It was just a complete mix. And the way that Brendan had talked to you and not ridicule you, but it was all about psychological building and helping you cope with people calling you names, basically. It was a bit shocking at first, because in this day and age, people would be like, "Oh, you can't say that, you can't say this," and in the confines of that gym, you could say anything you want, and you could, you would literally, he would literally call your names, and but he would call himself, and he'd refer to himself as the tick paddy, and you're looking at him, and when you don't know him and you don't know the system, you don't know what it's doing, you're just thinking, fucking hell, this is worse than school. And but it's conditioning your mind. And it was brilliant, because it would introduce you to people, and they would say, I used to be racist, but since I've been in this gym and I'm mixing with blacks, Asians, whatever, now I realize we're all the same, and that was what was key. And it was unbelievable. It really was. You just had this complete bag of mixed people. And it definitely helps you prepare for things when you go out into the real world. Brendan always used to say, well, if you're going to get upset, if we call you names in here or whatever, then when you're walking, if at the time we'd refer to like Manchester or anywhere, if you're walking to the ring and you hear, you're in your zone and you hear somebody calling you a packy bastard or a black bastard as you walk into the ring, if that distracts you, it can cost you your fight. All of a sudden you're thinking about what, but whereas when you're conditioned to it, it bounces off you. You don't really take that in. And also on the street, when people hurling out racist abuse, you don't react to it, because he always used to talk about how there were so many fighters and good boxers that because they react to what somebody would speak, that somebody would call the name or anything, they would chin them, they would end up in jail. And then their career and their life's kind of like ruined. 18 months for grievous bodily harm or whatever it is, the career's done. You take 18 months out of your career, you're pretty much screwed. And he was always kind of like conditioning your mind for that. Whatever race you were, whatever creed, religion, whatever you were, everybody had their problems and how they and in how people treat them, and it was about helping you overcome them, sort of thing.
It's funny you say that, because when Johnny was speaking about him as well, it was almost all about the mental aspect. Like he was like a guru, like an Aries Costomato type thing. He was just drilling this into you. Did you take that going forward when you became a coach? Did you start instilling the mental aspect a lot?
But in a different way. Because I don't think you can't just copy what other people do. It's like people that just watch these combinations on YouTube and think, I'm gonna use that on pads. But why are they doing it? What is it suiting that fighter? Is it suiting the mechanics of that fighter? So yes, you take bits of experience that you pick up, but you use it in your own way. So I don't speak like Brendan, but a lot of my training, a lot of my coaching is the mental aspect, and you've got to get your fighters to believe. But that comes from because I know what that does to you if you don't believe. Because in my career, I didn't believe in myself. I didn't believe that I was any good. I didn't believe that I could do it. And so if you don't believe it, you can't do it. It's because you're putting a brake on yourself. It's not always about because you're not capable of doing it. If you don't believe you can do it, you put a brake on yourself. It's almost like you're putting a safety net around yourself, and it's restricting you from fulfilling your capacity and doing what you could actually do. In the gym, I looked $1 million. I looked $1 million in the gym. On the pads, I looked sensational. But on fight night, I didn't believe. So I would put a brake on myself, and the majority of fighters that I had, the referee would say, if you threw 3 or 4 more punches around, I would have given you the fight. But you restrict yourself if you don't believe, and that's why I'm a big believer in conditioning and coaching the mind.
See, before fights, Dave, did you ever do it? Because when we were speaking to Johnny Nelson, he used to go into the toilet and get a stopwatch and so like he probably told you a story, but like that's mental because obviously he went on to be world champion, and it just shows you the fear and a lot of fighters that you don't probably see from the outside. Did you have any of that, obviously, because you said your mentality, you weren't really truly believing in yourself?
I used to so I lost my first 8 amateur fights. Nah, yeah, you can laugh, fucking shit, I know.
Yeah.
But
we had Paddy Barnes on actually last week, and he lost his first 8 as well. So
did
you're
really?
in good company, yeah.
I didn't know. Well, he went on to be better than me. But the thing is when people turn around and say, "Oh, how can he coach him? He's never done anything. This, blah blah." Yeah, there's a different aspect. What you have to understand is when you're a kid that's constantly being told that you can't do something, and when you're a kid that people ridicule and your own mother ridicules and tells you can't do anything, you'll never be good at anything, as a kid growing up, that conditions your mind. That is how our brains develop, our confidence develop. That's why it's important to make your kids feel like they can do anything, and then they end up finding their own path. But in the formative years, you need to build that confidence, because the confidence has to come from within. It can't be fake bullshit confidence. It has to come from within. And the best time to build that, to set them on a good path, is while they're kids. But if you've got it the other way, where people are demeaning you, diminishing you, and telling you can't do anything, then it's only natural that you're not actually going to believe that you can do anything. So do you understand how hard and how difficult it is that when you get beat and then people say to you, "Oh, how'd you go on last night?" "Yeah, I lost." Just those words speak when you're already a target of ridicule. Just those words to have to say it again. "Yeah, I got beat." Do you understand how hard it is to carry on and you lose again, to carry on, you lose again, to carry on? It's so much easier to say, "Fuck this, I can't do this anymore." It's so much easier to jack it in and just think, "It's not for me, I'm going to do whatever." But when you're coming through that kind of mental anguish and torment because you keep getting beat, and you in your own head are losing every fight, that takes some sort of mentality, some sort of toughness that at the time you don't realize that you've got. It's only years later I realized, I look back, I thought, fucking hell, that took some balls to carry on going. So when people want to take the piss and laugh because I lost my first 8 amateur fights, I don't really care, because that showed me that I'm a tough little bastard. I used to go into the toilet. So you talk about going into the toilet before a fight. I'd go into the toilets, and just before you're supposed to glove up and everything, you think, right, let's see, try and squeeze out a quick piss, because you don't want to need a piss when you get in the ring. So squeeze out a quick piss, and I just go in the toilet, and I remember before each fight, after I lost my first couple, you'd go, "Please God, just let me win this one. I just want to win this one. If I never win another fight, just let me win this fight. I just wanted to know what it would like to win." Then he'd go out, walk to the ring, and think, "I don't want to do this. What am I doing this for? I'm going to get smashed. What are you doing, Dave? What are you doing?" Walk into the ring. And so you get beat again, upset, go back to school or whatever, and fucking people say, you try not to tell people, but if people found out, that was it. And then you'd be like, lost again. So to overcome that and to keep going, that takes a certain amount of fortitude mentally. So when I'm dealing with fighters that have doubts, all fighters have doubts, but when you're dealing with fighters, maybe lack of confidence, they're coming off a loss or whatever, I know what that feels like. I know what it feels like to doubt yourself, but to keep going forward. But then I also can explain to them, if you don't trust yourself, you won't achieve your potential, because that's what it's down to. I didn't trust myself. I didn't trust my ability. Everybody else could say it. Everybody else could see it. And Brendan would tell you, and people from media would come up and to film somebody else and say, "Who's that kid there? He looks good." "Oh yeah, it's only Dave." But I look good. But on fight night, I can't perform. And unless you trust yourself and your capabilities, it doesn't have to be boxing. It can be a footballer. It can be somebody working in whatever job. You're working in sales or whatever. If you don't trust yourself and how good you are at your job, you won't be the best that you can be.
You worked in car sales, didn't you, before boxing? How does that compare? Because obviously you went from boxing and into car sales and then back into boxing, and because you said you lost them fights, you probably wanted to get away from that sport of boxing, but then it just shows you your mentality of wanting to like staying in it and being back in it and just basically putting that behind you.
I never walked away. It wasn't I walked away from boxing. It was just that I had to earn some money as well. So I my first ever job was a valeter. As soon as I left school, I worked as a valeter at Eric said Rover dealers, working with brand new cars, cleaning, stripping all wax off them. It was the hardest job in the world. All chemicals and shit like that that's spraying all over your face. You're coming out with spots. It was disgusting. I hated it, and physically, it just absolutely knackered you. But yeah, that was my first job, and then because I like cars, so I thought I want to get a job that I'm gonna like that can put me on until I make it in boxing. So then I ended up taking on working at a little car dealers. Only had about 5. And then I ended up running that. And then I moved to a car dealership that had about 18 cars. And I ran it. And I had keys to every car and driving all these cars and stuff like that. And but the problem is by the time you finish work and everything, it was like, you're knackered for training. So I ended up getting a part-time job in Meadowhall, working in a jean shop. Did pretty good at that, ended up being a floor manager there. But again, I went through a phase where I couldn't get to the gym as often as I want. So when I got to 20 and I was like, I need to pack in work and I need to focus on my boxing. And so I did that. So I packed in work and I focused on boxing. And I've never worked for anybody since.
That's mad. To be fair, when you were explaining all that, I was like picturing you in my head, like up to like 26 or 27. And when you were like, so when I was 20, I packed all that in. It was like,
Did you turn pro after that then?
I turned pro at 20. Yeah, I think it was 20 when I turned pro. Yeah, it was. I was 20 when I turned pro. I didn't start boxing until 15. I didn't have my first fight until I was 17. And then I literally had 11 fights, and I beat. My first win came against a kid at Bradford Police, and that was the biggest buzz ever because it was on our home show, and Naz was there, Ryan, Johnny, everybody was there. I think Clifton Mitchell was there at the time, but literally everybody was there. And talk about nerves, shit in it, absolutely shit in it. And I stopped the kid in a minute half, and I still remember that. I still remember when I dropped him with a right hand. I still remember it, and it was such a brilliant feeling. And then the next fight, I boxed a kid called Mark Cairns, who was number 6 in England, and it was a good kid from St Paul's, and it was in St Paul's, and I was brilliant. I took him apart there, and then I was buzzing because I won, and then Brendan said to me, went, "You'll fight him in the rematch back on our show." And I thought, fuck, no, I'm just beating him. I don't want to fight him again. I can't beat him again. And then we boxed him on our show, and I beat him again because I beat him twice. Brendan just turned around and says, "Right," he says, "You ready?" I was like, "Ready for what?" It's like, "You ready to turn pro?" I'm like, really?
How do you rate your pro career?
Oh shit. I don't rate my boxing career. I don't rate my boxing career at all. I won an area title, and I boxed some good names. I boxed some good fighters, very good fighters, but I didn't do what I could have done. I didn't believe.
What did you take from that into your coaching? Was there much or?
Oh yeah, experiences. Listen, the only thing that never happened to me in a fight that I can't get into the mind of a fighter is I never got cut in a fight. So when a fighter comes back bleeding, I don't actually know what's in his head. But if he's been dropped, I was dropped. If he's dropped somebody, I've dropped somebody. If he's been dropped, got up, and then drops him, I've done that. If he's dropped somebody and then lets the fight start fading away from him, I've done that. There's so many different scenarios. I've done 4 rounds, 6 rounds, 8 rounds, 10 rounds, 12 rounds. 12 rounds abroad on a main event, live on TV, coming out of a tunnel with smoke, national anthems, flags, all that sort of shit. I've done that. So the different kinds of nerves and edginess and things for the different occasions. I boxed at the MEN Arena. I boxed in a little dinner show. So I've done a lot of different things where I kind of can put my mind in their sort of.
Were you always a student of the game, Dave? Were you always like,
yes,
I'm gonna go into coaching after this, or did you just love it so much?
Not about coaching. I never thought about coaching until Brendan asked me to coach the kids at his second gym, and that's how it started. But I was a student. Whatever I do, I throw myself under. That's what I'm like, and my little boy's the same as me. Like, if we like something, we stick at it and we study it, and that's it. We just go with it. And so I used to get, back then it was VHS tapes. For the kids that are watching, sorry, you won't have a clue.
You're showing your age here, Dave. What's a VHS?
So it was. Listen, I remember we had black and white TV. We had a black and white TV.
Dave, you're only about 28. I don't believe that for a second.
Dave, I look older than you.
So we used to get VHS from the back of the Boxing Monthly. I used to order these tapes of Felix Trinidad, Roy Jones, Pernell Whitaker, James Toney, all those guys. Fernando Vargas when he was coming through, Zab Judah. Used to get all these tapes, just study them, just watch. So yeah, that's all I used to do is train, go home, study, train, go home, study. That was it, and just threw myself at it. I always have done. That's how it is. Now it's a little bit different because I'll study the football with my little boy and stuff because he watches like the breakdowns and stuff like that. His intelligence on football is unbelievable. So we'll do that, and then when everybody's gone to bed, then like literally from 1 a.m. to about 3 a.m. I'm studying fights. I watch the boxing the last thing before I go to bed. Always have done that. That's as a coach. That's how I kind of absorb things better. So yeah, I've always studied. I've always studied the sport.
What's the difference of nerves though between going in for a fight yourself and going in as a coach with a fighter?
Do you know what? It's different because going in myself, I didn't trust myself. I didn't believe in myself. That I was never afraid of getting hurt. I was afraid of looking the fool because I grew up being made to feel like I was the fool at school. When kids are just smacking you or taking a piss out of you, and then there's girls there that you don't want to look like a fucking knobhead in front of girls, but you're getting it, and so you're getting ridiculed all the time. So then I was afraid of, I'm going in this ring, these people are watching, I don't want to look an idiot, and so I would go into a shell. I wouldn't express myself. But as a coach, I'm more nervous because do you know what it is I will be confident in my fighters because I know we've done the work, but because I know what it means to them, I know what's riding on the fight for them. So I'm very nervous for them in that respect because I know what they put into it. I know what they sacrifice for. I know what it means to them. I don't want them to have the confidence knocked. I don't want them to go through the hardships. So when we do the introductions, this bit's the most nervous part for me. And then right when we go to the center of the ring, I hate that bit because that you're just listening to the referee. I'm looking at him, I'm looking at my man, I'm looking at him. Then when we walk back to the corner, that few seconds there, I'll say the last thing that I say to him, that bit when I leave their eyesight and I climb out of the ropes, once I go to that little bit there, those few seconds are the most nerve-wracking seconds of my life, every fight. That's the bit that I hate. Because then I get out, I go down the stairs, I turn around, and I've got no control over what happens for the next 3 minutes, really. I can talk them through it as such, but I can't do anything. And this is it. This is for real. And what we've done, it's like it's hard to explain. It's like, go on, son. Go show me what you can do. You know, go show me what I see every single day in the gym. Just go show me. And because I've not got no control over that bit, I hate it. So I'm very nervous at that point.
Yeah, it's mad because one of the most nervous I've ever been, maybe the most nervous watching a fight, was Bellew Hay won, because he had been so disrespectful. Like, Hay had been so disrespectful in the lead up.
Yeah.
And I was sitting, like, I was watching it in the bar in Manchester, and I loved Bellew so much. And I was like, there was a part of me just being like, he's going to get destroyed here. For you, it must have been traumatizing. Like, the nerves must have been through the roof.
That's a weird one, because do you know what? Because I knew David A, I'd watched him train, I'd watched him spar, I kind of knew him inside out. And because I knew what we'd been doing in the gym with Tony, me and Tony, day in, day out, it's a culmination of what you've been doing for years, you know. It was the most relaxed I was. I remember when I got in there, I'm usually like stood, and I was kind of like leaning on ropes, letting David Akel do all his moves. I was really relaxed. I was genuinely relaxed, and I just knew that Bellew had got him. I knew Bellew would beat him.
You were more relaxed than me then.
Honestly, I was. I just knew that it was going to beat him. The only thing is like I said, is because you also know that sometimes it took me 3 years really to stop that red mist from coming with Bellew in sparring, because if you get caught with a shot, it don't have to be an hard shot, but just a clean shot, you want to fucking kill him. And the amount of times, you know, I had to bollock him and stuff because of the red mist, and because he'd lose his form, lose his technique, and it's like, no, you're gonna fucking walk onto something. But then as it come, it was, you know, he started being wiser and smarter and started reining it in. And so there was still that one chance that he could go and with a red mist and want to kill him. And it did actually happen when his ankle went, because then you see the form and the shape of Bellew up to that point, and then from that point, he was dog shit, because he wanted to kill him then. He thought, I've got you, I'm going to kill you. And he just loaded up on everything. And that's why I was really pissed off with what happened after the injury. And I was, you know, he knew that. And then in the rematch, he knew what not to do. Whatever happens, he knew what not to do. And he was so disciplined. And what happened in the rematch should have happened in the first fight. But yeah, I was quite calm with that one. I just knew that he had his number.
Did it frustrate you after the first one? Because you got a lot of casuals saying, "Oh, he only won because David Hayes' Achilles went," and it was like they didn't actually see before that he was basically schooling him.
Yeah,
and they sort of ended on that.
But people see fights differently to how I see fights. I don't just because somebody's doing something round 1, round 2, round 3, and it's just there in your face, it doesn't mean that he's going to win the fight. It's what is he doing? How is that going to affect the fight as it goes on? You know, I look at things in different ways. That's why do you know what? That's why I hate scoring fights, because I don't score. I'm not there just to score a fight. You're actually just looking at he's landing. He's not landing. He's not landing. Who's landing the most? But when you're looking at a fight, from my point of view, I might be noticing this cheeky little right hand that he's getting tagged with underneath his jab, and thinking, oh, I wonder how that affects him in a couple of rounds. And my mind's looking at shit like that. Yes, he's popping the jab and he's popping other stuff to his head, but these little right hands that he's under, when they're exchanging and he's catching a couple, but he's driving them in underneath, how is that going to affect him if he's opening up? If he doesn't get past this round, if he doesn't get rid of him this round, is he going to be gassed in a couple of rounds? I'm looking at different things down the pattern of the fight, because as a coach, I can't just look at things for my fighter is what's happening this round, because you have to think. So when I had Ryan Rhodes box Gary Lockett for the WBU on the Kawasaki Bill at the Millennium Stadium, I remember saying to Ryan in the early rounds, Lockett was boxing and Ryan was boxing really well, but Lockett kept touching him downstairs. And Ryan was comfortable, and he kept going, coming back to the corner. I kept saying to him, don't let him touch you downstairs. You've got to stop it. I said, it's not hurting. I said, I know he's not hurting you. I said, but it'll have an effect down in the later rounds. Don't let him touch you. But because it wasn't hurting him, and he's just getting touched, and Ryan's kind of going through the fight, he's doing it. Ryan drops him in the 10th round. Lockett's completely gone. And then when Ryan goes to finish him, he's in front of him, he's wanting to pull the trigger. He can't pull the trigger. Why? Because of all the little stabs downstairs and the touches to the body downstairs that were happening, the cumulative effects after those rounds stopped him from putting the foot on the gas that he wanted to. I look at shit like that when I'm watching fights. So I'm not necessarily thinking, if it's I'm not necessarily thinking, oh, he's winning that round, he's won that round. I look at things like that because I like to see how I like to see the full picture of a fight, not just what's banging your face right there. So I hate it when they say, I just go that. Fucking hate it, because I'm not a judge. So my job's not just to let me watch me fight how I want to watch the fight. That's how I want to watch it. Some people just want to watch it for whatever. I might just want to watch a fight and just fucking enjoy a fight. But, it's different.
You touched on Ryan Rhodes there. Obviously, was that kind of like a pivotal moment in your coaching career to kind of start it off for you whenever maybe he got that win against Jamie Moore?
No, before that, Ryan won a British title with me. When he came, everybody said he was finished. It was BoxRec back then, not Twitter. And everybody on forums was like, he's finished. He's gone to Cole. What's Cole going to do for him? It's a joke. He's going to go for one big payday. All that bullshit, right? And he was finished. He was hidden away on MSC undercards. People thought he'd retired. We'd be going for walks, me and Ryan, before a fight, and people would be saying, I thought he retired. You're fighting. Fucking hell. People thought he'd retired. And the dream was for him to win a British title. Win a British title and get respect to the fans. And so the night that he won that British title was brilliant. It was like wicked. But then I think 2 weeks later, something like that, I had Kell Brook win the British title. I had Lee McAllister win a Commonwealth title, all back then. And then Ryan won the European. And that was because that was a big domestic fight as well. And that was wicked. That was a great night.
That fight was incredible. And then he went on and ended up fighting Canelo Alvarez in 2011. When you were obviously studying Canelo at that time, did you think, whoa, he will be a star?
Yeah, you knew he was gonna. Yeah, you knew he was gonna be a star. But this is where I first realized that when you're watching people on tape or on YouTube or whatever, yes, you get an appreciation of how good they are. But even when you sat ringside in your seat, yes, you see it a little bit more. But when you're in the opposite corner and you're fucking studying every single second of that fight, what's happening, your man, his man, what is going off in the fight, it's that intense. Your senses go to such a level. That's when you appreciate just how good these fighters are. I'm talking about the elite fighters. That's where you appreciate how the elite fighters are different to just the normal world-class fighters. It's just another level. It's just the subtle things, just the slight subtle things that makes it look like they're just that one step in front of you all the time. And they might not even be doing that much, but they're just that one step in front of you all the time. And they're making you work harder than you want to work. And I've been up close and I've seen some of the best fighters pound for pound that there is right now. And you see that difference, and it's like, shit, they're good. They're really good.
If Canelo got Mayweather a few years down the line, he could have potentially beat him, or do you think Mayweather's just the greatest of our era?
I just think Mayweather's different. Mm-hmm. I think Mayweather's different. His ring intellect and ring generalship are next level. And that, he fought people that were faster than him. Zabjuda in those first 6 rounds, Zabjuda's hand speed in those first 6 rounds gave him problems. But he adapted, he worked it out, and then you look at what happened. You know, he was able to adapt during the fight. And that's something that's his intellect and figuring things out is just next level. But yeah, when you see him up close, it's different. I mean, they look great on TV and stuff. They look great. But when you see it up close, it's different. It really is.
But is there a sense of you, like when your fighter agrees to fight a Canelo or a Usyk or whatever it is there a part of you who's like, fuck's sake, I have to try and solve this puzzle? Or is it just, right, let's go, dive into it?
It's a bit of both, because you do think, fucking hell, it's fucking, you know what I mean? And you watch it. So the one was Usyk, and you're watching Usyk and you're thinking, you're looking for any sign of fucking weakness, and you're thinking, but also what you got to remember is, you know, when people talk about, oh, he should have done this, he should do this, he should do that, but it's not always about that's the way to beat him. But if your fighter can't box in that way, you can't really do a game plan for your fighter to box that way, because he can't do that. Say for instance, if he's a come forward fighter and all he can do really is come forward, have a tear up, you know, and he's strong, he's physical, yeah, but he's a come forward fighter, can't box on back foot. But then if he comes up against an absolute monster on the world scene, that's a Golovkin, say for instance, right? Who, if he hits you, it's fucking you up. You know, no matter how tough you think you are, and he's relentless, and he throws a lot of punches. He's got a great chin, and your guy's a come forward fighter that hits hard, but isn't a genuine one punch knockout merchant. Well, the way that you would normally say is, right, you need to box. Don't be there for him to hit. You need to box. You need to be this. You need to give him angles, blah blah blah. But if that fighter that you're working with cannot box in that way, it's a little bit difficult. So it's easy to say, well, you should have boxed him, but he can't do that. That's not his, you know, that's not how he is. And in say you had 8 weeks notice, in 8 weeks to transfer that into him and then to operate at that highest level in a new style, well, can he do it? Because then you get people saying, oh, well, he was caught between styles and he shouldn't have boxed that way. He don't fight like that. What's he doing fighting like that? Yeah. So it's very, very difficult. You have to look at what the assets are of your fighter. Look at what he does well. What can he do better? And the things that he doesn't do so well, take away or try and mask for that fighter. And then to give him the best opportunity. And, you know, it depends on what you're working with.
Yeah, I think. Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, Bellew in that Usyk fight though was on, but like I think he showed everyone. Yeah. People, no one was giving him a chance. Although Bellew, it seemed like he was going strength to strength, and his career was just really going on a totally different trajectory. But that Usyk fight, again, it seemed like he sort of peaked there, and then that was it, retirement. Everyone was like, no.
It was always going to be retirement, because I wanted him to retire after the David A fight. He's become world champion. Is like secure his family's future. He's getting injured every camp. Ribs popping, fucking hands are always smashed, but ribs popping, back going. Little things like age. Age gets to 35 years old, something like that. Age catches up, and the Usyk fight, it was a culmination of what we worked on. You know, I don't work on just one way, fight by fight. I want my fighters to be able to cover all angles. If you need to go forward, you can go forward. If you need to go back, you can go back. But that takes time, it takes a process. And with Usyk, if he'd have just gone forward, as Tony Bellew does, when he, you know, in that kind of fight, stalking, going forward and loading up, Usyk could have picked him off all night long. Marco Huck can punch like fuck and comes relentless. He picked him off all night long. Breedis coming forward, picked him off all night long. He's a counter puncher. He's at his best as a counter puncher. Joe Joyce in the amateurs, had weight, size, everything, boxing, until it ready to start backing him up. But I thought, well, Bellew can box, with things that we worked on. I knew what he could do. And I kind of wanted to, yes, it was a gamble, but not a gamble where I didn't think he could do it. My only concern with Tony was, because the first thing that I said to him for that fight was, let's do it at heavyweight. Because he'd been up at heavyweight for 2 years. He'd not made cruiserweight for 2 years. So at that age, to go back down to a weight you've not been at for 2 years, it's going to be hard work. And he was like, no, I want the belts. He said, if I'm going to beat him, it's got to be for the belts. So I understood that. But my concern was, coming back down to cruiserweight, could he sustain it? Would he take the shot as well as what he did at the heavier weight? But could he also have the energy? And he couldn't sustain it, and the pressure that Usyk puts on you drains you mentally as well as physically. And he's another one where when you get in the ring with them, you just see fucking how good they are. Just by even doing nothing, you see what he's doing. And he's brilliant. As a cruiserweight, absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. And you're talking about elite level. That's when people like to mock, or because we got beat. Yeah, I just think to myself, fucking hell. I remember we were sat at the press conference fight week, and I'm sat there, and obviously I know it's his last fight, but I'm sat there, and there's in front of me every single belt that you can win in boxing is there. Every single belt. And I remember just thinking, fucking hell, this is as high as it gets. This is as big as it gets. It's the undisputed. You can't get no bigger than this in boxing. It's for every single belt. And I just thought, wow, fucking, how the fuck did we get here? it's massive. So when people want to mock, he got to fight for everything, for the undisputed. He got to the highest you can get. He just didn't manage to stand on top, but he got to the very, very top. He just couldn't stand up and fucking look down on everything. He just. So there is no way you can ridicule that, because you can dress it up as much as you want, but that was the first, I believe that was the first ever undisputed for all belts, everything in this country.
That's the pinnacle of the sport, isn't it?
That's what I mean. It's the pinnacle. I remember thinking that, and I just thought, fucking, this is as big as it gets.
Was it almost like a relief for you though when Bellew did retire, because like he was becoming such a superstar, and that put a lot of spotlight on you, and obviously you're needing to dedicate a lot of time to him as well as an individual. Like, not once he retired, it was like you could spread your time out more and come out of the spotlight a little bit.
It makes no difference. It made no difference really, because I've always been good at managing time. There's 24 hours in a day, so I don't sleep much anyway. So you can manage what you need to do around things. And he wasn't a drain mentally. He wasn't. Yes, the stress because of the size of the fights and stuff, but I'm not one of these that sits there and, I'm stressed. Oh, I just fucking get on with it. It's what I chose to do. Part of my life. I enjoy that shit. I enjoy challenges. I enjoy when I'm up against it. I don't like fold and think, oh, can't do this, can't do it. I like it. It's a challenge, and I'll throw everything at it. So no, I miss having him in the gym. I miss being around him daily because it was funny. It wasn't like I'm too young to be his dad. So I mean, it weren't that kind of relationship. But it was like where I kind of, it was family. End of the day, it was family. Whatever way you want to spin on it, it was family. But it was. I looked after him in terms of the boxing side of things, but then he would look after me as well, because he knew that I wouldn't have time to eat, and I'd be missing my meals and stuff because I'd be in the gym and whatever, and I'd have somebody else after him and things like that. So he would bring food to the gym for me. So when he's got his food for the week, his nutrition and stuff. He'd always get extra, so he'd bring stuff for me, and he'd make sure that I'm eating as well. Do you know what I mean? So he would look after me as well as the other way around. So yeah, it was a great dynamic. It really was.
I'm surprised he hasn't contacted you, Dave, about you being his caddy for the PGA Tour. He's flat out in the golf, isn't he?
Because he knows I'd tell him to fuck off. That's right.
Well, you've crossed sports before, haven't you, Dave? So I'm sure it could happen again.
No, I'm no one's caddy, mate. I'm no one's caddy.
Dave, I want to just touch on your first ever world champion was Jamie McDonnell. There's a funny story with that, I think. Some of our listeners might not know it, but you took that on like 24 hours notice to go overseas, didn't you? I was reading about it and like couldn't wait to ask you about it.
Do you know what? It was mad. So I managed Jamie McDonnell. I didn't train him. I managed him and got him the Kameda fight. And it was like, fucking hell, big fight, big payday for him, changed his life. Right. Off you go. See you later. He goes to I think he's going to airport, everything's going to be fine. 6 o'clock in the morning, my phone goes. And the first thing I think, as soon as I see his name on my phone, is, fuck, he's missed flight. I'm thinking, his car's broke down, he's not going to make it. I'm thinking, shit. So I've answered the phone, I've gone, what's up? He says, Dave. I went, you're not going to believe this. I went, go on. He went, I need you. I went, what do you mean? I said, where are you? He said, I'm at airport. I said, what are you doing? He said, we're about to check in. I went, oh, so you haven't missed flight then? He went, no. He said, we're about to check in. He said, but he said, I need you. I went, what do you mean you need me? He said, I need you to come out. What do you mean? He says, and his trainer was called Dave. He went, Dave won't get on plane. I said, what do you mean? So I'm thinking, you're taking piss here. You're just winding me up. I goes, Jay. I said, what are you talking about? He says, he won't get on plane. I said, why not? He says, he's scared. I said, what do you mean he's scared? He says, he won't get. I'm not. I think. I said, mate. I said, listen, fuck off. Stop taking piss. I said, it's 6 o'clock in the morning. I said, I don't need this. It was like, no. I'm serious. I said, Jay. I said, you're winding me up. I said, no, what are you doing? He says, no. And I said, no. I said, fuck off. Put the phone down. So he's rang me back. He says, honestly, he says, I need you. He says, he won't get on the plane. I said, does he come to the airport? They were like, yeah. I went, is he there? He went, yeah. I just put him on phone. So in my head, I'm thinking, they're in this together. They're going to fucking reel me in. And soon as I say, all right, he goes, I got you, you mug. So I come on phone, and bear in mind, his coach, I only know him to say hello to. I met him when they signed with me, and that was it. But I know him to say hello to, and that's it. And just brief. So I was going, what's up? And he's gone, I can't do it, Dave. Well, what do you mean you can't do it? You can't do what? He said, can't get on plane. I said, why? He said, I'm scared. He said, can't get on. I went, you flew to fucking France when you won European title. He went, yeah, but this is different. He says, it's like a longer flight. I said, once you're up in air, I said, plane's coming down. It's coming down. It makes no difference whether it's fucking 4 hours, fucking 2 hours or 10 hours. Once you're on plane, you're on plane. I said, if you go on plane to France, you can get on plane to Texas. No, I just can't. I can't. And I'm thinking, is this for real? And I went, I said, tell me the truth. I said, this is a wind up. He went, no, he said, I'm not going. I'm not getting on plane. I went, all right. I said, put Jay back on. So Jay comes on phone. And I'm going to believe it, but I'm thinking, I don't want to give these two fuckers fucking satisfaction of having me. So I'm like, are you serious? It's like, yeah, I need you to come. I went, I'm training Bellew for a fight. I said, he's fighting in a few weeks. I said, listen. I said, I'm going to speak to him. I'm going to ring him up. If he comes to Texas with me, I says, I'll come over. I went, right. So I put the phone down. I'm still thinking he's winding me up. So I've texted him. I've said, listen, I'm about to wake Bellew up. I says, if I'm waking him up because you're taking piss, I says, he's going to kill you. I said, is this for real? And he texted me back and said, yeah, it's 100% for real. I need it. I'm like, fucking hell. So I've texted Bellew and I've just put, all I've put was, do you fancy some warm weather training?
Great way to put it. Great way.
And his text me back. It's put, where? Now, bear in mind, he's only literally just come back from spending, I think it was 6 months away from his family, filming Creed in Philly. So he's literally only been back like a week, 2 weeks. He last thing he wants to do is leave his family. So he's just put, where? So text back, Texas. So he's rang me up. He went, what's going on? And I've explained to him, I said, listen, I said, I need to go over. I said, but I said, obviously you've got your fight. I said, what, will you come over? I said, if you come over, I said, I can do it. He went, fucking hell. He says to me, he said, obviously he's just got back. He went, yeah. He says, all right. He said, if you need to go, he said, I'll come over. I went, right, okay. So I picked Jay up. I said, listen, I spoke to Bellew. I said, you're on next flight. So 24 hours later, I'm on that flight with Bellew. Fucking Mr. Happy. Fucking really happy about being at the airport.
So you could watch Creed on the plane on the way over.
Do you know what the funniest thing is? Right? I forget which trip it was. I think it was Chicago or something. Right, fast forward, we're going to Chicago with Gab's fight, and me and Bellew were sat here, and there's a guy on the aisle next to us. He's only watching fucking Creed with Bellew, isn't it? I'm like, oh my god,
movie star next to him.
But yeah. So we ended up going over to Texas, and we was there for 3 weeks. I trained for 3 weeks out there for the first Kameda fight, and then obviously he just he stayed with me, and his brother as well came with me, and so we beat him in the rematch as well. So the rematch was better because Kameda they had Ismail Salas, and they expected that they took Jamie for lightly for the first one. They expected to smash him, and everybody expected him to get smashed in the second one, and we beat him easier in the second fight.
Well, Dave, before we let you go, we know you played a big part in Curtis Woodhouse crossing over from professional football to boxing. Ryan here in the cap is a professional footballer, and we're trying to talk him into the boxing to become British champion. What do you reckon? Can he do it?
Throw McKenna wants to fight me,
listen,
Dave.
Listen, do you know that the funny thing is, right? When we first saw that Curtis Woodhouse had left football to become a boxer, I was at the time I had a journeyman called Daniel Thorpe. There was me, Daniel Thorpe. There were Kel Brook, Ryan, and we was all watching him on fights. We were all on text to each other. Who the fuck's this kid? What an idiot! What's he doing? Fucking nutcase! Why is he packed in football to be a boxer? And Thorpe is messaging me saying, "Dave, get me this fight. I'll beat him. And Thorpe were a journeyman. He was just a journeyman. Lost about 6-7 fights. He was like, I'll beat him. And then after he had that one fight, Dean Powell, who was his manager at the time, said, he rang me up. He says, listen, would you be interested in training Curtis Woodhouse? I was like, what the fuck do I want to train a prima donna footballer for? He's just going to be up himself. That's what I thought. He says he's a lovely kid. He says just meet up with him and just see what you think. He came up to my gym, and from when I met him, I liked him. So I ended up training him, and then I ended up managing him, and it was such a story because we had ups and downs, we had losses, we were learning on the job, and he just wanted it. He wanted it so much, and he did everything that he asked him to do. And it all paid off in the end. He ended up winning the British title. So what a story that was. That story
of him like promising his dad he was going to win the British title and then actually doing it, and then the reaction in the ring and stuff. It was absolutely amazing.
That was goosebumps. One of the greatest nights I'll ever have. It was just brilliant because again, it goes back to what I said to you at the beginning. I know what this means to these people. You know, I spend time with him every single day. I know the story behind the struggles. I know the impact that doubters, trolls, whatever you want to call them, I know the impact that has on these people and how they will give absolutely everything. And it's still never enough because there's always going to be people saying you shit. There's always going to be people that are criticizing you. And this is why, you know, I say to my fighters, I say to my young fighters, especially like Hopi and Jordan and Lerone now, you know, don't worry about what people have got to say because Floyd Mayweather is unbeaten, has achieved everything that he's achieved, And there's still some people that say that he's overrated. And there's still some people that say he weren't that good. Andre Ward, same. Don't get the appreciation. Just people that don't appreciate Tyson Fury, don't appreciate Anthony Joshua. No matter what you do, people get slated off. The top, the elite, the best in history. People will still slag him off. So what chance have we got? We've got no chance. So don't worry about what people are saying. But because I know what it means to them, that's why when we have the lows, they're so low. I can't explain to you. It hurts like nothing else. But then when we have the highs, the best feeling in the world. This sport is unbelievable. It really is. It covers every emotion, and it's you're on top 1 minute and you're on the bottom the next. And so that's why you can't be concerned about what other people are saying, because it's our lives that it truly affects. Somebody on a keyboard or on a phone doesn't really affect their life, but it affects the fighters' lives, because they get beat. Not only are the dreams crushed, but the pay scale goes down, and they're providing for the family. A lot of them are sacrificing. It's like me. I sacrificed financially because I would chase the dream. And fighters do that. You sacrifice. You could go and get a job that pays you well, but you're chasing this dream with the hope that right at the end you might make it. And people don't see that, and they don't take that into consideration. People are giving their lives. They get in the ring every time. They know the damages that boxing does, but they're willing to do it. And so when it goes wrong, and I don't get it twisted. I don't mean that people shouldn't have opinions. Everyone's got an opinion, an entitled opinion. You're watching a sport, you're paying for a sport, whatever. You have an opinion, but there's a way of putting that opinion across. And I don't agree with the ridicule, as in the vile shit that goes off. That's the only thing. And when I see my fighter, I see my fighters getting that. That's when sometimes I'll be a little bit, hang on, fucking hell. Sometimes you buy it when maybe you shouldn't have to buy it. But it's not about buying. It's just about letting people know you're being a bit of a dick there, because these people are giving it everything they've got. It's if you want to do in sport, be it football, be it boxing, whatever, you're doing something that's extraordinary. And the reason why I'm saying it's extraordinary is because it's not the norm. It's not what normal people do. When I say normal people, I mean the majority of the population go and do a normal job, go and work for somebody, get told what to do, they work, that's it. It's guaranteed income, guaranteed hours, all structured. Boxing's not like that. And so you're doing something extraordinary, but that means that you have to be an extraordinary sort of person, an extraordinary sort of character that takes what goes with it, the life that goes with it, the diet, the not being able to eat the same foods as your family, kids having sweets and shit in the cupboard and you can't touch it. There's so many things that are away from the actual ring stuff that are very, very difficult. But it's what we choose to do. It's what fighters choose to do. And all it is yes, everyone's got entitled to an opinion. And if you box shit and you get told. But it's when it's personal and when it's people, you see these people saying stuff that's like fucking vile. And the only other thing that gets me is a fighter loses and then the shit. It's like, disregard everything else that they've done, the shit. And then even when they win a world title after, people are still saying the shit because they got beat fucking 2 years ago and they got knocked out, whatever, and they're still putting up photos. Well, yeah, but they went on to do something. Do you know what I mean? Or, it's just mad how things work out. But it's a great sport. I love it.
There you go, Ryan. I hope you were listening there.
No, like I agree. Like with the Josh Kelly thing, like last weekend, everyone's saying, "Oh, he's basically like people were just overhyping him and all blah blah blah." But it's like I said it on Twitter myself. I was like, footballers have one bad game, and it's just one bad game. Boxers have one bad fight, and it's like, oh, he's over. Like he's washed up, or he wasn't as good as what everyone thought he was, and that's his career finished. And it's not.
I'd love the mentality to switch, because it's like, in UFC, I don't see people being that bummed about records, and if somebody loses, they don't like go on about them saying, "Oh, this or that and other." But in boxing, it seems as though you're not allowed to lose. But yet, all the best fighters have lost fights. You know, apart from Mayweather, all the best fighters have lost fights. But what I don't get is a fighter wins comfortably, a prospect wins comfortably. He's boxing a bum, boxing a tomato can. When's he going to step up? This. But
it's like Jordan Gill at the weekend. Your fighter Jordan Gill was like, that fighter was game as anything, and like Mexicans would be coming over and like being causing carnage with a fight like you seen with Josh Warrington, and you dealt with them so well. And like it's like people might look at that and be like, oh, he's probably not that good, but it's the way you've dealt with him, it's the way you've fought him. Like that could have been an upset.
Exactly. But then people want these fighters to take a test. When is he going to fight somebody? When is he going to take that step up? But then if he does and he gets beat, it's shit. But you don't take into account that you can to fight somebody that's better than you will ultimately make you a better fighter if you take it in the right way. If you learn from it. The only way you can keep pushing yourself is by pushing your boundaries. Now, when you get to this boundary here, that's your ceiling, right? And if you only fight within that ceiling and you're fighting guys that you're expected that aren't at that level, you're never going to go to that next level because you're never going to have to grow, you're never going to have to develop. You can just stay at that level. But then when you try to go to there, and if you fail for the first time, that little gap there, if you take what cost you the fight away with you, work on that, improve what you were good at but not quite good enough at, and take away the mistakes that you made and the flaws in your game that cost you the fight, then the next time you go to that level, that gap there is not as big, and you might be able to close it and you might be able to become the better fighter. But if you've never tested yourself at that level, how do you know how good you're going to be? You know, and when you test yourself and you get beat, it's not the end of the world. But people like to write you off and they don't let you forget it. But I like to look at it as it's an opportunity for you to improve.
But before we let you go, because we know we're taking up a lot of your time here, but how good was Jordan Gill at the weekend for you, and what levels can he reach?
I thought it was brilliant. You know what? We knew what we were going to get with Juarez, and the losses in his record against top fighters. I mean, even against Angelo Leo, he gave him hell. And even when he loses, he gives him hell. He's a hard puncher. He's relentless, and he lets his hands go. Jordan handled it really, really well. His feet were amazing. His distance, and he's closing him down. He's stopping from working on the inside. All the things that cost him against Tinoco, you could see what we've worked on for the last 2 years. And he did it, you know, and it was a great performance. Listen, Paco, who's the manager of both Tinoco and Juarez, couldn't believe the difference in Jordan. And he, even Juarez said he's skill for skill, he's right up there with the best that he's ever fought. And he said that he hurt him in the last round as well, which is good for Jordan. But Jordan's not going to be, he's not a one-punch knockout merchant, but he hits hard enough. He does it hard enough, because if he didn't hit it hard enough, then people just walk through him straight. You know, Juarez would have walked straight through him. You know, but he kept keeping him honest and kept chipping away at him. But his boxing skill, there are so many world champions that aren't big punchers. People just have it in their head that, well, you need to be a big puncher to be a world champion. No, you don't. You don't need to be knocking everybody out to be a world champion. You need to be able to outbox people. You need to be able to be smart. You need to be able to ride out the tough moments. And you need to be able to keep improving. Where do I think he can go? I think ability-wise, he can become a world champion, no doubt. But fights like Saturday night are developing him. You know, each fight he has, he's learning. He's just soaks it up. The Tinoco fight taught him so much. You know, he's got great potential, and hopefully next week, you know, we can make the Isaac Lowe fight. That'd be a great fight. Isaac's got a good ranking. It's another good learning fight for him. I believe Jordan does a job on him, and then we take it from there. You know, but yeah, he's still developing. He's still getting better. He's only 26. You know, so another couple more fights at this sort of level. You know, He's in the top 15 now of the WBA. Get him into other rankings and box people around that sort of levels, and then we'll see where we're at.
Yeah, that would be unreal. Get them two on the Fury Joshua undercard.
Be big.
Isaac, and we'll see you there, Dave. We'll see you there.
Yeah, I hope so.
Fans should be allowed back in then, hopefully too, which will be good.
Fingers crossed. Yeah. I hope so. Listen, I don't believe anything this government says, so whatever happens. So I'll just, everyone's getting all excited, and I'm seeing all these posts and memes about shit, and I'm like, I'll believe it when I see it.
Dave, brilliant. Thank you very much.
Well, that was it for our episode with Dave Coldwell. Thanks for coming on, Dave, and a special thanks to Fred at Soapbox London. I'd also like to give a shout out to two of our American sponsors, DraftKings and Manscaped. If you use our code Brawl Boxing, you'll get 20% off any Manscaped purchase and free shipping. Join us again next week, and we'll be back with another very special guest. Thanks for listening.
I'd like to call that white girl problems. Met her back in autumn. Every gift I try to get her, she already got them. Messing with the TA, wonder what she taught him. Work her way down, literally to the bottom. Where are all my best friends? How can I ignore them? Never gonna text them, I am too important. Look at what my dad bought, yeah, it was imported. He took a second loan, cause our family can't afford it. Nice guy, bound to finish last if it's a sport. Call her CeeLo cause she crazy and her arms are kinda short. Got a traffic ticket once, but she didn't go to court. And she interrupts my sessions every time that I record. So I tell her I got so much shit up on my plate, it's a buffet. Now we out in Paris and these women look like Muzzy. Superficial, she just needed combs like Puffy. You don't need to go, but I think you need to trust me.